Welcome back to the deep dive, everybody. I want to warmly welcome you, the learner, to today's discussion. We have a really fascinating mission for this deep dive today.
Yeah, we really do. It's a pretty jarring thought to start today with, honestly.
It is,
Yeah.
because we are going to look at how two ancient, extremely famous biblical stories actually serve as like a perfect mirror for modern human psychology.
Right. Specifically, our deep-seated fear of being truly seen.
Exactly. We are asking the question, what if the greatest achievement on your resume, like the thing you are most proud of, is actually just an elaborate psychological hiding place?
I mean, when you phrase it like that, it's a little uncomfortable.
It totally is. But okay, let's unpack this, because reading this text we're looking at today is honestly, it's like finding an ancient architectural blueprint.
Oh, I like that analogy.
Yeah, but instead of mapping out, buildings or stones and mortar, it maps out the human ego and our intense need for connection.
And we're pulling this insight from a short but profoundly rich paper. It's titled Pentecost, The Gift of Vulnerability.
Right, written by Friar John Baptist. And what makes this source so compelling is his background. He brings a really unique dual perspective to this.
He does, yeah, because he is both a friar and a pastoral clinical counselor.
Which is wild. So he's looking at these massive historical narratives with the trained eye of a modern therapist.
And that dual lens changes how we read everything. What makes this so interesting is how he kind of strips away the traditional purely theological readings.
Right, to reveal the core human behaviors underneath all of it.
Exactly. He's showing us the primal instinct to hide versus the courage it takes to just be vulnerable.
Okay, so let's start with that instinct to hide. Because to understand the power of vulnerability, we first have to look at, its opposite.
Our total obsession with hiding behind our achievements.
Yeah, how much energy we spend avoiding being seen.
Mhm.
And the paper starts this exploration by taking us straight to the Tower of Babel.
Right, from Genesis 11.
Now, if you grew up hearing this story, or even if you just know it culturally, it's almost always framed as a story about pure human hubris.
That's definitely the standard rate. Humanity gets arrogant, decides to build a giant tower to defy God, and gets scattered.
Right, but the author brings in this reflection from Ronald Rolheiser. This is from November 18th, 2024, and it completely flips this interpretation.
Yeah, Rolheiser argues that Babel isn't really a story about humans arrogantly trying to, like, punch above their weight class.
What is it about, then?
It's actually a story about people trying to hide behind a massive achievement. The text describes the tower as a spectacular structure, but specifically meant to be a facade.
A facade. Wait, so it's meant to draw attention away from something?
Exactly. It's meant to draw attention away from their ordinary, fragile, and, imperfect lives.
Wow.
Humanity is essentially saying, look at what we can build, while quietly hiding the truth of who they actually are.
Okay, wait, let me just challenge that for a second. Because if I curate a great resume to get a job, or a society builds a massive skyscraper, I'm not necessarily trying to hide.
Right, sure.
I mean, I'm trying to survive in a competitive market. Or I'm just exercising ambition. Are we saying ambition itself is just a psychological mask?
Well, no, that's a fair pushback. And the clinical distinction here comes down to the underlying anxiety that's actually driving the build.
Okay.
The author isn't saying all achievement is inherently a mask. It's about why the tower is being built. In the Babel narrative, the text literally notes they wanted to make a name for themselves, specifically, lest they be scattered.
Ah, okay, so it's fear-based.
Right. They were driven by a profound existential fear of being insignificant, unprotected, and totally isolated.
So the tower became a defense mechanism.
Exactly. Psychologically speaking, a mask or a facade is just a tool to control the narrative. What's fascinating here is how this ancient story perfectly diagnoses the human defense mechanism of using grand achievements to mask fragility.
That makes total sense. When you build a monumental tower, you control what people look at.
You force their gaze upward toward your accomplishments.
And entirely away from the ground level reality of your struggles. You're basically saying, look over here at this shiny thing, so you don't look closely at me.
It's the ultimate misdirection trick. And Babel is framed here as the ultimate refusal of vulnerability.
That reframing makes it feel instantly modern. I mean, thinking about it like an architectural mask.
Yeah, because we build these towers every single day.
We really do. I mean, think about building the ultimate flawless professional resume, Or curating a highly aesthetic social media profile.
Oh, social media is the perfect example of a modern Babel.
It's a giant tower of achievements designed specifically to distract people from the messy, imperfect reality behind the scenes.
We use our competence as an architectural mask, and the psychology behind it is entirely based on threat avoidance.
Right, because if I show you my true self, you might reject me, which is terrifying.
That is a massive emotional threat. But if I show you my tower, my awards, my perfect family photos, my promotions, you might envy me, but you won't reject me.
I stay in absolute control of the interaction. But the text argues the cost of that control is intense isolation, right?
Exactly. Because nobody is actually connecting with you. They are just admiring the masonry of your tower.
Man, that's heavy. So if Babel is the ultimate mask, how do we take it off?
That brings us to the exact opposite psychological movement in the paper. The narrative shifts to the story of Pentecost.
Found in Acts 2. And the text directly contrasts Babel with Pentecost, framing Pentecost as a literal reversal of Babel.
Right. And to understand this reversal, we have to look at the psychological state of the disciples before Pentecost even happens.
They were literally hiding.
Exactly. They're not out in the public square building monuments. They are hiding behind locked doors, afraid and completely uncertain.
They have absolutely zero facade in that moment, and then the Holy Spirit comes upon them.
And Friar John Baptist makes a crucial point here. When the Spirit came, it did not make the disciples powerful in a worldly sense.
Meaning what exactly?
It didn't give them political influence or wealth or an impenetrable fortress to replace their locked room. It did something much deeper. It gave them the courage to come out of hiding.
Here's where it gets really interesting to me, because this completely pushes back on our standard definitions of power.
How so?
Well, we usually think of a miracle or a divine intervention as a bestowal of ultimate power, right? Like invincibility.
Right, perfect control.
Exactly. If I'm terrified in a locked room, the miracle I want is armor. I want a magic wand that fixes all my flaws and makes me untouchable.
You basically want a bigger, better Tower of Babel.
Yes, I want to be bulletproof. Yet here, the true miracle is rooted in a total lack of control.
It's the courage to step out of a locked room, walk into the open, and choose to be entirely exposed.
They didn't build a tower to impress anyone. They just stepped into the open and revealed themselves.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, this choice to stop building towers is what actually bridged the gap across different nations and cultures.
The author notes they spoke from their lived experience of Christ, his death, resurrection, mercy, and crucially, they spoke not with perfect control, but with honest witness.
That phrase, honest witness, is the core of this. They weren't managing the spin, they were just telling the truth of their experience.
Even if it made them look weak. But why would that work? Why does stepping out without a polished plan actually bridge those gaps?
That is where the author's background as a pastoral clinical counselor really shines. Real connection rarely happens through perfection or image making.
Wait, really? Because we spend our whole lives trying to be perfect to get people to like us.
I know, but let's look at the psychology here. When you project perfection, when you operate from the top of your tower, it actually triggers a subtle threat response in other people.
Being impressive triggers a threat response.
Unconsciously, yes. When someone is relentlessly flawless, your nervous system perceives a hierarchy. You feel evaluated.
Oh, wow. So you subtly put your own armor on to match theirs.
Exactly. Impressiveness creates distance. But when we hide behind masks, the tragic trade-off is that we remain completely unknown.
So what happens when someone admits a flaw instead?
It does the exact opposite. It down-regulates the nervous system of the person they are talking to.
Because they realize it's not a competition.
Precisely. Their brain recognizes they are safe. You are basically signaling, I am unarmed.
And vulnerability becomes the literal doorway to trust, empathy, and belonging.
Yes. When we allow ourselves to be seen with humility, others can meet us more truthfully.
So the miracle of Pentecost wasn't just that many languages were spoken. It was that hearts were opened.
Vulnerability was the exact place where connection happened. The Spirit didn't just give them words. It gave them the courage to share their story.
And let love create communion across every difference. Which brings us to the practical application for you, the listener, today.
Right, because this ancient dynamic dictates how we connect with our friends, families, and colleagues right now.
We are running on the exact same psychological hardware as those people in the first century.
We really are. And this raises an important question for all of us. How often do we trade being genuinely known for the much emptier feeling of merely being impressive?
It's a tough pill to swallow. I mean, we choose the mask because we're convinced vulnerability is a weakness.
But it's not. It's the only way to not be isolated.
So what does this all mean for you? Think about the people you feel closest to in your own life right now.
Did that connection form when the other person was showing off their flawless Babel tower?
Probably not. I guarantee you it formed in a moment of Pentecost.
When they dropped the mask and admitted a flaw, a fear, or a failure.
Exactly. When someone unlocked the door of their own hiding place and said, "Here is my honest
And
witness,"
in that moment, the language barrier of perfection was broken.
it's a complete paradigm shift. The things we try so desperately to hide are the very materials required to build a bridge to another human being.
Let's do a quick, energetic recap of the deep dive's journey today, because we covered a lot of ground.
We started with Ronald Rollheiser's brilliant reframing of Babel, seeing it not just as ancient arrogance, but as an architectural mask.
A facade meant to draw attention away from our human fragility.
Then we looked at the Pentecost reversal, the disciples unlocking the doors, not with perfect control, but with honest witness.
Proving that the doorway to empathy and belonging requires trading our impressive masks for the humility of being seen.
It's profound. And as we wrap up, we want to leave you with one final lingering thought to mull over.
Because we live in a fast-paced world that constantly rewards us for building flawless digital towers of Babel.
We are literally incentivized to hide. But if vulnerability is the true key to connection, what is one small locked door in your own life that you can step out from behind today?
Just to be genuinely seen by one other person.
It's a terrifying but beautiful challenge. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive.
It's been a great conversation.
Keep questioning the blueprints you're handed, and we will catch you next time.